Hello everyone! The Embernic RG353P was for a long time the best Embernic handheld, but today we have a new king. This is the RG556. It is very comfortable, the performance is great, the screen is amazing, and it also has a great battery life. Starting with the unboxing, we have the default Embernic package, which is pretty simple and clean. Inside the box, you'll find the console, a USB Type-C cable for charging, a screen protector, and the manual. This is the transparent blue color and it looks very nice. The plastic is almost completely see-through and you can see all of the internal components very clearly. We have K-Silver Hall Effect analog sticks, with the same size of the Nintendo Switch. I have covered these sticks before in the channel and they're pretty good. We have a membrane D-pad, and the D-pad has this glossy finish. And there's two mechanical buttons, one to launch the Embernic launcher, and the other works as a physical back Android button. On the bottom we have a headphone jack and a USB Type-C port. And there's a micro SD slot here. The speakers are on the bottom of the console, and you have one on each side. Here you have mechanical select and start buttons, and membrane face buttons. These face buttons has a bit more of resistance, and they won't sink flat with a shell. You can push them a little bit harder after the travel distance has reached its end, but that's not a problem. The shutter buttons are mechanical and very responsive. And for the first time, we have Hall Effect triggers on an Embernic handheld. And with a flashlight, we can see that the triggers have metal pivots, which is very good for the durability. On the top we have an exhaust hole for the air, and here's the volume buttons and the power button. There is also an LED to indicate the charging state. And hidden inside the console, there is a microphone close to the D-pad. So you don't need to really plug a microphone to the headphone jack to use voice chat. And here we can see one rumble motor on each side. Also, the screen is now flat again, and the screen protector fits perfectly. The ergonomics on this console is also pretty great. The curves fits perfectly on your hands, and it's very comfortable for long gameplay sessions. The position of the D-pad is also very good. You can reach all directions without feeling any kind of discomfort. The boot time is a bit slow, but that's expected from any Android device, to be honest. Here you have a similar Android OS from the previous Embernic handhelds. But this time it has access to the Google Play Store by default. And if you don't like the Android interface, you can press this button to open the Anbernic launcher. Here you can quickly select and launch any game you want. Testing the buttons, the default layout is the Switch one, but you can easily change layouts by selecting this option. The Hall effect triggers are pretty good, and the D-pad is very good as well. Anbernic always makes great D-pads on their handhelds. All of the diagonals are very easy to hit. But the analog sticks though are terrible. They have the same cardinal snapping or dead zone in the axis from all other Anbernic handhelds. And it's a bit disappointing because this is something that could already have been fixed. These dead zones removes a lot of precision and makes aiming and moving in games feel very bad. Now let's talk about these functions on the top. Here you have the default Android options, but there's a few extra ones. This one enables a high performance mode for the processor, and this one controls the fans. And the fans only get almost as loud as a Nintendo Switch. This option enables and controls the LED lights around the analog sticks. The LEDs aren't RGB unfortunately, there is only the white color. And here's how it looks with the max brightness in a low light environment. There's this night light mode that will cut the blue colors of the display. And this option enables the key mapping software. With this, you can map the button presses to the touchscreen. The extra dim mode, as it suggests, makes the display extra dim. This is useful for viewing content or playing games in complete darkness. There's screen record, screencasting, which is unavailable because the Wi-Fi is off, this option enables the Anbernic launcher by default. If you want the device to start on the RG launcher when you turn it on, you must leave this option enabled. There is also a color inversion option. I don't know why anybody would use this, and there's quick share as well. Talking about the screen, this is one of the best screens I've seen so far in a handheld. It's an AMOLED 1080p display, and it's very bright and high quality. Since the screen is so good, the RG556 is not only great for playing games, but also for viewing content.
Witnesses say that an Everest-sized asteroid hit Earth, devastated the planet, and caused a mass extinction. A simple, fascinating, and convincing explanation. Or is it?
そんなもので誘えるのですか。その人にとって大切だった人の幻を見せるんだよ。でもアインザームが使う幻影は魔法使いにとって
You can also turn it and navigate with a vertical position. That's something that other handhelds couldn't do. And navigation feels just as good as it would in your smartphone. Storage is not a problem as well, with 128GB of internal memory. Performance is also outstanding. It runs many games and supports many shaders. Surprisingly, it runs GameCube games very nicely. And the triggers are also emulated perfectly. But not all games will run perfectly. For example, F-Zero GX is a demanding game, and it will struggle to keep running at 60 FPS, even with the performance mode and the fans turned to the max. And that's the same for PS2. Most games will run perfectly fine. But eventually you have problems with more demanding games.
Lands, her blade of hatred concealed in purest silk.
Well, at least your stance is correct. Ha! My life is not yours for the taking.
Versus Setsuka. Fight!
Stay down!
And the cherry on the top of the cake is that this device can run some Switch games. Of course, performance is not very good depending on the game you're playing. But the fact that this is emulating a Switch is pretty impressive. If you run lighter games like Rune Factory 3, you'll have a great performance.
Rune Factory 3.
And 2D games will run very well too. But be aware that compatibility is a hit or miss. Some games will run well, while others won't.
What a beautiful day!
Bloodstained, for example, will run but with a lot of glitches and it's not even playable. And it can run Genshin Impact with the settings on the max with no drops in the frame rate.
My people are used to the desert life, but still, I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own and leave the sandstorms behind for a better life.
Don't waste my time.
The touch mapping is very bad, but that's because the analog sticks are bad. Thanks to the dead zones, the precision is terrible, and you're better off playing with the touch controls. Now you must be asking, can I dock this device and play the games on my TV? And the answer is yes. With a USB-C to HDMI adapter, you can connect it to any TV and play on the big screen. It is also compatible with Switch docks as well, but some docks has compatibility issues. For example, the Kiwi Home dock cannot detect it and will only charge the device. But the Genki dock will detect it and it will work. And if your external display supports USB Type-C, you can just connect it directly. When using an external display, there are two options. Desktop mode and handheld game console mode. If you choose desktop mode, the screen on the handheld will become a touchpad and you'll have a desktop experience like Samsung phones. Pair it with a Bluetooth keyboard and you have a PC-like device. And you can even do multitasking with the two screens. For the battery test, I charged the device to 100%, set the performance to height mode, and let the fans control itself automatically. The brightness is set to 25%, and I let it run F-Zero GX, which is one of the more demanding games. And I wasn't expecting it, but this device ran GameCube games for 8 hours non-stop. At 7 hours, it still had 11% of battery. So I let it run a little more and it finally died at 8 hours. So the battery life must be much higher if you're playing less demanding games. Before finishing with the teardown, here's my recommendations to get the best image quality. The RG556 is very powerful and can support many different shaders. But the shaders that look good on an external display may not look good on the screen of the handheld. By using this configuration, you can get the best image on both screens. Moving to the teardown, I could remove the two screws on the top, but when I went to the bottom, I couldn't remove the screws because my screwdriver couldn't reach them, so I cannot disassemble the device. Fortunately, there are other YouTubers who disassembled it, and I'm gonna use the image from their channels to show you how it looks disassembled. The first thing to notice here is that the speakers are separate from the main board. So the speakers here is the easiest thing to replace. With the heatsink removed, we can see that the battery has 5,500 milliamps. That is a lot of capacity. For comparison, the Switch has 4,300 milliamps. Also, the processor and the heatsink are far away from the battery, which is another good point because it keeps the battery cool and improves the durability. And lastly, the analog sticks, buttons, and rumble motors are completely separate from the board. So the entire project is very modular and easy to repair. With that said, the RG556 is the best Anbernic handheld so far. The only thing keeping me from giving a perfect score for this handheld is the analog sticks. If Anbernic fixed the dead zones problem, this is gonna be the best retro handheld of 2024. If you had previous Anbernic consoles, this is the time to upgrade. You can find the links to buy it in the description of this video. And that's it for this review. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.